Hey guys, Jerred Moon here from Into3 Fitness, and today we're talking about one of my favorites, our specialty at Into3 Fitness, and that's combining a high level of strength with high level conditioning, whether that's CrossFit style training, metabolic conditioning, mixed modal training, whatever it is, how you can combine really high level strength and continually get stronger while also dramatically increasing your conditioning. So all this started years ago because I was trying to balance the two. I really wanted to be able to get a lot stronger, but also get fitter, stronger, faster, harder to kill. And it's probably been a decade now of me searching down answers and trying to find out how to really combine conditioning where I could really excel to the level that I wanted to. And it's taken a lot of trial and error on myself and all of our athletes, but we have a pretty good system. So I'm gonna tell you what I found that doesn't work, and more importantly, I'll share the method that we have that does work really well. If you've tried doing this on your own, or you've watched other YouTube videos or read any articles about it, everyone's gonna have their own opinion, right? But we've tested our methods on thousands of athletes, and so if you have any theories or thoughts about how we do it, make sure that you're coming to the table, not talking to me about your theories or why this wouldn't work via textbook. Come to me with how many athletes you've trained and seen it successfully or not done successfully, because we've actually tested this in a lot of ways. Now, if you're doing this on your own, you are going to run into a lot of problems, and we are on the way back to my home office right now. I'm going to draw some of this out for you on the whiteboard because you have probably already hit some of these problems, or if you're a coach, you might be doing some of these things now, and I'm telling you, you have to be really careful if you want to be smart about your programming for the long term. All right guys, the first wall that you're gonna hit if you're trying to do this, especially if you haven't been doing it for more than a couple years, you're gonna go with the pickles and ice cream approach is what I call it, or AKA the mash it up method, where you're gonna take this really awesome strength program, and then you're gonna take this really awesome conditioning program, or CrossFit program, or programming, and you're gonna put them together. And the reason I call it the pickles and ice cream is because it's also the pregnant woman approach, right? Pickles and ice cream, never good. Never a good idea, except for on some rare occasion. If someone's pregnant, this might sound good, but 99 out of 100 times, pickles and ice cream is disgusting and not something you want to mix together. Likewise, here, you're going to take Winsler's 5-3-1, you're going to take Strong Lift, you're going to take something that you found, some awesome strength program, and you're just going to mash it together with some other CrossFit programming, some sort of conditioning programming. The only problem here is, yeah, you might actually get stronger, but this is not a long-term approach to fitness or strength. It's going to work for a couple cycles. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to get injured. The volume's going to be too high. So yes, it works. I won't argue with that. It's going to work. It's going to work in the short term. If you want to be fit and continue to see gains for, say, a decade, absolutely not your approach. I'd argue that this is only going to work probably for about 8 to 12 months before you really start to see a digression in your gains, because it's too much volume, it's too much conditioning to combine with one another's, and to be honest, it's pickles and ice cream. Doesn't taste good. Wall number 2 that you're going to run into is what I call the ruining the appetite method. And this one's pretty simple, and to be honest, it's what a lot of people are doing right now. It can be effective. It's a great long-term approach, but I'd still argue it's not the most effective or optimal way you could be training. So what you have here is you're going to take some sort of strength progression, and you're going to take some sort of conditioning, and this might be based off of Prilepin's chart, that we actually have a video on that, Prilepin's chart, or some sort of awesome strength programming. You've actually used your brain and planned this out. I'm gonna say planned well. So it's not like the last wall number 1 where you're taking some pre-existing program. You have a coach or somebody is writing out the programming. This could be at a CrossFit box or whatever, and they have this really awesome strength programming, and they were really thinking about everything. The dynamic effort method, they were thinking about EMOM, they were thinking about progressions and periodization and all this great stuff. But what they weren't thinking about was this piece. And so their strength training is awesome, but they were never thinking about this over here. They weren't thinking about that Metcon that has, 50,000 pounds of volume in it, right? And so the reason I call this the ruining the appetite method is because I can make this amazing meal and I eat the whole thing and I spend all this time cooking it. It's amazing. I love it. It tastes amazing. Then my wife gets home and she's like, oh babe, don't forget, we have reservations at the restaurant tonight. And I'm like, oh crap. I completely ruined my appetite. I wasn't even thinking about that amazing meal that I'm gonna have later. That's exactly what this is like, guys. You're planning this awesome strength, but it does not coincide with your conditioning at all. There's no thought to it. It's just like, oh, this is really awesome strength and we'll just tack this on the end somewhere. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll all work out in the end. Again, can be, if you have a smart coach, it can be effective and it's a more long-term approach. So I like it because this is lower volume. But really, guys, it's not the most effective. It's not the most optimal. You're not going to see the biggest gains by doing this method. You're going to ruin your appetite. You're not going to see the amount of performance gains you wanted here, or worse, you're not going to see it here. Just to stick with our food analogies that we've doing, the last approach, and this is the approach that we've kind of developed and been using for the last several years, and I'm calling it the Gordon Ramsay approach because you know who Gordon Ramsay is. You've seen him on TV. He's kind of a dick, right? He's not the nicest guy in the world, but he is also an absolute world-class chef. He's thinking of every single piece that goes together, how the appetizer is fitting with dessert and what wine goes with it, everything. And guys, I'm not a foodie, but I know Gordon Ramsay, he's freaking tough, but he's also world class. And that's what we have, kind of stumbled on for this last programming method that I believe supersedes the last two walls that you're going to run into if you're trying to combine strength and conditioning at a high level. We also call this the 80-20 method. I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 rule where 20% of your efforts really yields 80% of the results. And what we do here, and like I said, I'm not going to do any math on camera. I'm not going to get into the weeds. You guys can do this on your own. It's not that hard to figure out. But what we have is we take 20%, this is your 20, and this is your strength training. If I could learn how to write. All right, so that's that. And you actually would do the math here. Sets times reps times weight, because that's going to give you total volume, right? So that's going to be 20% of your volume. And then you'd have to do a little is over of math to figure out what your 80% should be. So let's just break that down real simple. And so say this was a 3-movement Metcon. You'd also find out sets, reps, weight, total volume of this entire thing. And this should be 80% of your volume for that day. And this strength training, however you want to break it up, whatever strength training you did, were you following Philippin's chart? Were you, how are you breaking it up? Were you just working up to heavy maxes? Whatever your goal is, there's a lot of different ways you could tackle strength training, but this should equate to about 20% of your volume, and then 80% should be that Metcon, that additional conditioning piece, that mixed modal training component is what that should be. And this is what we found. Like I said, I'm not going to get into any math. This is what we have found and have been doing for years and years in Into 3 Fitness, and we really believe it is the best method to gain strength and conditioning over a long-term approach to fitness. And the reason we still call it that Gordon Ramsay approach is because it's tough, guys. This is not easy, especially because you have to do all the math, right? It's like, oh, dear God, I have to bust out my calculator. Like, yeah, sometimes if you want programming at a really high level, you're going to have to get out your calculator. All the coaches and programmers who are scared to do that aren't delivering great programming. So this is how you do it. Do a little bit of math, use your brain, and do the Gordon Ramsay approach, and you're going to get a lot stronger and a lot fitter than following any other method, I guarantee it. All right, guys, what I'm really trying to help you do is bypass all the heartache that I've had to deal with over the last several years in programming for all of our athletes, because we've had thousands of people go through our programs, and we've made a lot of mistakes along the way. We've tried the pickles and ice cream method. We've tried the ruin your appetite method, and like I said, you'll see some progress, you'll see some results from it, but it's not the most optimal or efficient way to go about it, guys. And so following our method, doing the Gordon Ramsay approach, yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of math, but in the end, you're really going to see your numbers increase in both strength and conditioning. But on top of that, you know, what's way cooler than that stuff is, you know, you're going to be ready to tackle, say, that obstacle course race, or going to combat, or just playing with your kids. You're going to be able to do a lot of cool stuff, and that's what we want to deliver in our programming and helping you out here. So follow that 80-20 rule, go the Gordon Ramsay approach, and see your numbers increase and be able to do cool shit. All right, guys, that's it. We just ended the video, and I was going to try and do something cool to get you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I was going to climb up the rope and say, hey, if you like this video, subscribe. You should totally do that. But what happened, I got to the very top and the shit broke. I fell right on my ass. I'm not, luckily I'm not injured, but come on, guys, I'm out here trying to, like, basically kill myself. So if you like this video, just subscribe and like this video, or share it, comment, everything else, guys. Thank you so much for watching.